forest, which is in the post-quantum, then Rhizophora, Cereops, and Acacias. Next, please. A few days earlier, I attended a presentation held in PhD department of SIN, where there was a conference, there was an online presentation by World Bank representative from Laos, and they did some study on the SIN province. And according to their findings, 15% of SIN's GDP is lost every year because of nature environmental degradation. And 10% of this is due to environmental health and 5% due to natural resources degradation. And in terms of losses that occur due to degradation in mangrove forest, it's from 0.3% to 1.1%. And according to their findings, that 25% of the marine fisheries resources in Pakistan have been lost or reduced during the last 5 years, and there has been reduction in the fisheries, marine fisheries to the extent of 40% in the last 10 years. So these facts actually indicate that there is something, a big change is going in our ecosystem behind, and we need to address this on a urgent basis. Next, please. Drivers of mangrove deforestation and degradation, we have already discussed. Vyasa as a lady talked on these drivers, but mainly these include the cutting, pollution, grazing, encroachment, and some natural factors. Now, in terms of forests, we know that forests contribute to the mitigation of climate change effects, and this has been recognized globally. And according to the research, that forests can sequester 49 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. So there is a great opportunity if we can conserve our forests to mitigate the climate change impact. Next, please. This is where the concept of RAID, which I discussed earlier, has come into play. That if we cut our forests, whether these are mangrove or any other forest, that we cut and burn these forests. And if we burn, then carbon dioxide is emitted to the atmosphere. But if we can address these drivers, we can reduce the deforestation, we can introduce some alternate means of energy, then we can save these forests, and by saving these forests, we can reduce the emission of carbon dioxide. Next, please. This led to the issue of RAID the proposal of RAID was put forward by the developing countries, because deforestation is much more prevalent in developing countries, and they proposed that there should be some mechanism whereby the developed nations should encourage reduction in deforestation and degradation in developing countries, but through some incentive mechanisms. And the agreement was finally reached in Copenhagen, and it further endorsed at Cancun. Next, please. And under that agreement, there are 5 activities have been defined whereby developing countries would benefit from the RAID mechanism, and that's the reducing emission from deforestation. Pakistan is one of the highest deforestation rates in the world. So if we can reduce the rate of deforestation, whatever quantity of the timber or forest that we could save through that means, we can trade that in the international market, and we can earn money for the country. Then the second is reducing emissions from the forest degradation. Again, that's another way of reducing emissions. Conservation of carbon stocks, sustainable management of forest resources, and enhancing existing carbon stocks through better improvement, through better management of forest resources. Next, please. Now, when we talk about the carbon potential, then in the forest there are two sources of two pools of carbon. One is above the ground, which mainly includes living biomass above and below ground in the root system, and soil. Soil is another important source where carbon could be stored through nature process. And the rate at which the carbon is sequestered through these pools is the carbon sequestration, annual carbon sequestration rate. Next, please. Now, the blue carbon, which we refer to the coastal ecosystems, which include mangrove ecosystem. If we look at this slide, then we could see that the potential for carbon sequestration is much higher in mangrove forests, whether these are estuarine mangroves or these are oceanic mangroves, as compared to the tropical forests. So this is the data, and it can be up to 1400 tons of carbon dioxide per hectare in estuarine mangroves that we have. Next, please. And in terms of the species, we have two major species along Pakistan's coast, which is Rhizophora and Micronata and Avicennia. And for Avicennia, it's nearly 44 tons per hectare carbon dioxide sequestration per annum. And similarly for Rhizophora, it's 25 tons per hectare. This is root biomass. Similarly for the above ground biomass, it has been researched that there's the 80-year plantation could sequester 5 tons of carbon dioxide per hectare, and a 12-year-old plantation could sequester 12 tons carbon dioxide per hectare. Next, please. And based on this data, and I have tried to calculate the carbon sequestration rate of mangrove species found in Pakistan, and I have taken the average of 12 and 80 to calculate the figure of 20 and 40 year plantations. And on this basis, we can see that 90 tons of carbon dioxide per hectare is sequestered by Avicennia marina, and half of that 40 tons per hectare is sequestered by Rhizophora. But please remember that this does not include the soil the carbon that's stored in soil, which is much more. It's according to some research studies around 1700 tons per hectare. Next, please. And if we, based on only the above biomass data, we can see that if 90 tons per hectare is sequestered by Avicennia marina, so in international market you can trade that at different rates, and the current rate is between $5 to $20. So on these basis you can earn a lot of money, which can be $900 to $1,800 per hectare. And whether you plant it or it's nature forest, the sequestration rate is the same. Next, please. Again, this is the global data which says that per hectare contribution of mangroves in terms of monetary values is more than $15,000 per hectare, and this can be more than even other uses like shrimp farming and any other use. Next, please. Pakistan also one of the disaster-prone countries, and according to studies, if you have a 200-meter width strip of forest along your coast, then that can reduce 80% of the force of the tsunami and 70% velocity of the flow of water. Next, please. Again, a lot of economic potential in fisheries that we can harness, and this is again based on some studies done in Philippines, Riyad Sahab already discussed this, and Pakistan exports a lot of fishes, so we can, if we increase the number of area under our mangroves, we can increase our fish resources as well. Next, please. Now, the opportunity cost based on studies which have been done internationally or within the Pakistan, and we found that $8,290 is the opportunity cost of 1 hectare of mangrove, and this includes the direct and indirect values of the mangrove plus non-use values. So it means that if we lose 1 hectare of mangrove, we are losing $8,290 per year. Next. Way forward is that there is a great potential for investment in mangrove, and through better understanding of and advocacy on the values that are possessed by this ecosystem, and under RED, we can harness this opportunity by developing a provincial level strategy that could be a part of national level strategy and action plan. We need to assess the potential of carbon sequestration of our mangrove species and establish a baseline of provincial baseline and establish a better monitoring and reporting system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vanessa. I'm sure when it is your subject and you're working on it, it is difficult to stop and compose and close the presentation. We can go on, and there may be a lot of more things that can be definitely shared. Now we would like to share with you a documentary that is called Mangroves, the Defenders of the Coast. This was made by Mangroves for the Future program in India, and we will also have during the documentary that would display, it's about 30 minutes of documentary. We will have working tea. You can take tea and continue watching the documentary as well. So.
کہ جہاں ہم لوگ رہتے ہیں مینگروز کے علاقے میں ابراہیم ویدری اور ریڈی گوڈ میں وہاں دن بہ دن اس کی کٹوتی ہو رہی ہے. تو اس کانفرنس کا یہ فائدہ ہوگا کہ ہم اس کو جو ہے نا روکنے کی کوشش کریں گے. اور دوسری بات یہ ہے کہ ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ یہ مینگروز جس طرح پوری دنیا میں سیورل سسٹم چل رہا ہے, دنیا پوری چاہتی ہے کہ جو یہ کلائمیٹ چینج آتے ہیں ان کو مینگروز روکتا ہے.
مینگروز ختم ہو رہے ہیں, راحت دینے کی ضرورت ہے, کٹی جا رہی ہیں, جانوروں کو کنارے جا رہے ہیں, کو یقیناً پروٹیکشن ملنا چاہیے, کوئی کاؤنٹ پالیسی ہونا چاہیے. کوسٹل ایریا میں مینگروز کی امپورٹنس بہت زیادہ ہے, جو سب آپ لوگوں نے ڈسکس کیے. مینگروز کو پروٹیکٹ کرنا پاکستان کے لیے بہت ضروری ہے. ہمارے پاس سمندر کے کنارے ایک بہت بڑا فارسٹ کا ایریا ہے جس سے ہمیں فشریز بھی تباہ ہوگی اور علاقہ بھی تباہ ہوگی.
کرنا چاہیے اور
جو پوچھیں گے یا میں جنرلی بتا دوں؟
آپ نیوز بتا دیں.
مینگروز جو ہے ہمارے پاکستان میں تھوڑا بہت 22 سال ہو گئے. پاکستان میں مینگروز کا رقبہ جو ہے 1,04,000 ابھی موجود ہے مینگروز. لیکن اگر ہم 10 ڈیلٹا میں دیکھیں تو پاسٹ میں ہمارے پاس مینگروز کا جو رقبہ تھا وہ تقریباً 6 لاکھ ہیکٹر تک مینگروز موجود تھے. اس سے جو کوسٹل ایریا سے جو لوگ تھے وہاں پر بہت خوشحال تھے, وہاں پر فشریز تھی, وہاں پر یہ وہ لوگ تھے جہاں سے مارکیٹ اکانومی شروع ہوتی تھی اور پورے سندھ جو ہے یا پوری کنٹری کو ایک معاشی اور اکنامک جو ہے وہ فائدہ ہوتا تھا. لیکن آج جو ہے ہم دیکھ رہے ہیں کہ مینگروز کی کٹائی سے یا مینگروز کا ایریا جو گھٹنے سے جو ہے ہمارے پاس اس ایریا میں لوگ جو ہے وہاں سے مائگریشن کر رہے ہیں اور وہاں سے جو ہے نکل کر دوسری جگہوں پر جا رہے ہیں, جیسے غربت. اس کی بڑی وجہ جو ہے غربت میں اضافہ ہے. اور مینگروز گھٹنے کی جو بڑی وجہ جو ہے وہ فریش واٹر انڈس ڈیلٹا میں نہ آنا ہے.
I work in Dawn newspaper as an in charge of the 3 sections of the weekly magazine.